our next story is about the Writers Guild strike, and now the fact that the actors, the SAG-AFTRA, is now looking at potentially joining the writers. So that's an interesting twist. We've already seen some of that, like Snoop Dogg, for example. I know canceled the show because he wanted to be in solidarity with the writers, and he didn't want it was Netflix or somebody making any money while he was he certainly didn't want to hire scabs to do that. So this was at a Socialist alternative. Zoe Cedeno. All right, we'll throw a little Spanish flair to it. God, only 631 views on this, which is so sad. Actors Guild authorizes a strike alongside the writers. So this is great, right? Unions to fight together against the studios if no deal is reached by the end of June. So they've given a deadline. You got 5.5 days to get this thing worked out, guys. Not even. You got 5 days and an hour and 40 minutes at this point. So WGA been on strike since May 3rd. As we know, the picketers at the entrances of Paramount, Warner Brothers, Netflix, Amazon, other major studios 5 days a week. Though writers are facing the numerous hardships that come with such long fights, they're sharply aware of the stakes in this contract battle. So there's a really well-written article. Studios are now moving to divide film and TV workers. But on June 5th, SAG-AFTRA members voted to authorize a strike. Over 97% of voters, just like UPS, were in favor of strike authorization with a turnout of 48%. That's pretty good, that's nearly double the typical turnout.
What about the 10%?
What about the 10%? So support for a strike among the 160,000 union performers not only represents broad support for the writers, but also comes from studio practice, of course, that have made it a living, made earning a living as a performer increasingly difficult. Actors like writers face diminishing revenue, residuals, and long stretches of unemployment, and the use of AI to devalue their labor, right? That's what's happening. Voice actresses as well, voice actors and actresses, I know of some that's happening too. So their refusal to budge on issues with the Writers Guild has taught SAG members that the only way to get what they need is to fight collectively. So now they all are, and I love seeing this. All right, a banner called Screenwriters Everywhere, made of writers' guilds and unions, has organized solidarity events in multiple countries for June 14th. All right, potential SAG thing, again, 160,000.
The only writer that's not striking, I think, is Stephen King. He's still writing comedy for the news. So,
Well, he's certainly writing the narrative on Ukraine, it seems.
Yeah.
But it's evident that the DGA, that is the Directors Guild of Association, the day after SAG authorized the strike, they announced that they had negotiated a tentative agreement with who's the AMP, the AMPTP. That's like the theater guild or whatever, the people who put the money that pay. But it's evident that the DJ has only secured these concessions because WGA is on strike. SAG is threatening to do the same. So it's like they're really afraid that if Directors Guild goes out too, well, they might as well
strikes.
Right, they might as well make a deal with Directors Guild. But if the actors go out too, the film and TV workers need the unions. Well, yes, need studio unions. This is that. The internal logic of film and TV unions means many creative laborers belong to multiple unions. For example, some SAG members belong to WGA. Some DGA members also belong to the WGA, working as writers and directors on projects. While this highlights the immense creative capacity of writers, performers, or directors, it means the different duties fulfilled by a single worker are represented by different unions, which is tricky, right? But this has been the source of ambiguity, All right. During the strike, for instance, technically, writer-directors are on strike as writers, but are contractually obligated to continue working as directors. And this division of labor, of course, is artificial. Writer-directors, writer-producers, and writer-actors often need to employ all their skills and experience to do their jobs. Like, how do you just be a director? I guess you can, but not if you wrote the thing originally. Like, You need to adjust a word or adjust a thing. Like, okay. So they've asked writer producers to fulfill their non-writing obligations on set with strict guidelines. So they do have an idea of what they want to do. Now, here's what Socialist Alternative calls for. No deal without a collective deal, which solidarity. SAG members, DGA members must vote no on any tentative agreement until all three unions get the deal they need. This is the best way to ensure the strongest terms for all three unions. And fully shut down production. Yeah, shut her down. SAG needs to start preparing their membership for a strike, including the large portion of SAG members who didn't vote. The full power of both unions will only be brought to bear if the membership is mobilized and withholding their labor collectively. Can't have any scabs within the union. No more mini rooms. That's something that's happening. That's studios.
Or mini bars.
Well, more mini bars. Yeah, studios need to employ
Full bars only.
a full staff of writers as determined by the writers themselves. I don't know how they make that determination and if there's a budget versus the number of writers. I don't know. But living wages year round. No more depending on seasonal work. Contracts should include off-season stipends to ensure workers can afford to live all year. And they would say that workers need to budget their salaries and their lives better because they're capitalists and they're also starving the workers. But you can see some of the writers here. I put on our thumbnail. It was Fran Drescher. She's the head of I think she's the head of SAG-AFTRA right now. She's one of the union heads. The nanny, yes, that Fran Drescher. So, solidarity, of course, with the writers. I appreciate that the actors are also seeing the potential in what a strike can do for them. What can Brown do for you? What can strikes do for you? What can withholding your labor do for you? So, again, shout out to Socialist
Alternative.
Alternative.
Call him Mini Room.
Right? Mini room.
That's Mastermind Hour in the chat.